Welcome to Grace Presbyterian Church. I'm so glad to be here because I haven't been here for several weeks, and it's so good to be here today. And as you all know, I've had knee surgery, full replacement knee surgery, and I'm doing very well. Actually, I'm very excited about being able to be up and walking around. And I'll tell you what, every day I go to the mailbox, there's something I look forward to now. Because you all keep sending so many cards. It's been so beautiful, so thank you for that. I'm Pastor David. Justin is at Covenant this morning, and we're so grateful to have you, Danny, helping us worship today. And we have Communion Sunday, and then also this is the Sunday where our youth report what all the things that happened on their mission trip, and we're very excited about that. And so we're looking forward to that presentation. But glad that you're here. Let's start with a couple announcements if we can. And Doug, if you would help me out to be sure to pass the friendship pads. And also notice there's a prayer request card in there. If there's something that we can be helping you with or praying about with you through, please let us know. Also, there's a card in there, a little green card that you can, when the offering plate comes by, if you give online, you can use that, okay? Lots of things happening here in the fall coming up. Lunch Bunch, which is tomorrow. It's a group of people that just enjoy having lunch together, and everyone's invited. You don't have to be a particular age group. If you're about to go back to school, okay, and if you want to show up, you could show up. We'll feed you. So even if your youth are invited, but Lunch Bunch tomorrow at noon, come and have lunch. Everything's provided for you. It's not even a potluck. Everything will be provided for you. August 13th, our intercultural dinner at Grace. You know, we're starting this whole intercultural ministry. And we're looking forward to that. So come. Many of you have participated in that before, and it's such a wonderful gathering time. Common Grounds is a group of people that get together talk about social issues of the day at Windcrest on the Windcrest campus. And I lead that. And then Theology on Tap is on the 15th, which is a Tuesday. And we get together at Rock Bottom Brewery, and we have a beer or two and some food, and we talk about theology, a particular subject. So I invite you to do that the second Tuesdays of every month. We also have our kickoff Sunday coming up for the fall, and that'll be on August 20th, and there'll be one service, okay? That service, you all don't have to worry about it. It will be at 10:30, okay? So come at your normal time. It's the 9 o'clock folks that have to remember to come at the 10:30 service. Also our women's retreat. So anyway, I'm glad to be here. I hope you all are glad to be here. Are there other announcements that need to take place at all? All right, let's begin our worship time together then. Let's all stand and join together in "Oh, Worship the King, all glorious above."
Shield and defense. may be seated. Would you join me this morning in our confession? In confession, we reflect on everything that seeks to define us, our family stories and reputation, our names and notary, our lineage, our lies, our drives, and our addictions, our talents, and our failures. We stop and remember this. These do not truly define us. Instead, we are named and defined by a creator, a redeemer, and a sustainer. We are remade, reformed, and transformed continually by the creator of life. We are woven and rewoven into an ever-changing present and ever-becoming future. So let us confess together to this God of transformation that we serve. God, we come before you bent and broken. We recognize that our past accomplishments cannot save us. We also recognize that our failures cannot separate us from your love. We confess that we too often rely on position and power and possessions. Pull us away, O God, from the things that entangle our identities. Push us away from things we so frantically cling to. Remake us in your image. Reform us according to your good will and pleasure. And now we will take a few moments for those silent confessions within the depths of our soul. The Creator looks us each in the eyes and with grace and love says, in Christ Jesus, you are a new creation. All things have become new. May you know today that you are forgiven, that your worth comes from the new name and relationship that you have with Jesus Christ, and that the Spirit of God is continually transforming you and infusing you into an incredible future with God. Amen. At this time, I'm going to invite the teenagers, as well as there's some kids. You guys want to help me with the grace blessing this morning? I know I just called you out in church. You don't have to make eye contact. It's okay. All righty. You want to help with how this grace blessing goes? How does it go? All righty, and we're going to ask everybody to stand with us as we say our grace blessing together. Saying, grace in me, grace in you, grace in all of us. Thank you so much. May we pass the peace with one another this morning.
This isn't some Christian thing. What kind of a blessing is that? All right. So she said that Susan's birthday. She turned 16 or something. At a party. I said
Please be seated. I didn't see them till just now. We don't normally point out visitors, but my neighbors are here this morning, Kurt and Linda. So good to see you guys in the back row there. Good to see you guys. The scripture passage this day is from Matthew chapter 14. It's a story we've all heard before. It's the feeding of the 5,000. So before you go, oh, I've heard this story before, there's nothing new here, just pause for a minute. Open your hearts, open your spirits, open your minds to maybe something new you learning this day, especially as we have our youth reflect on their mission trip that they did and the great need that they came across in the same way the disciples and Jesus came across this great need in the crowd. People were hungry. Notice the tension that is in this scripture passage about this tension between full abundance of God and the scarcity we feel as human beings. Is there enough to go around? We say to ourselves, and we ask God. And God's always saying, there's more than enough to go around. Notice that the disciples, when they feed the 5,000, everybody sits on the green grass. This is Israel, folks. There's no green grass in Israel. It's dry. The geography is so dry. And yet, in God's world, there is abundance. Notice the tension between who's supposed to feed this needy crowd. Is it Jesus, who, of course, could just go magically, bam, provide all this food? Or is it the disciples? Notice the tensions here. And then bring those tensions to the situations that we face today in our world and the places of need that there is in our world. God, we open our hearts, our minds, and our spirits to your word now. Now, when Jesus heard this, and you know what it was that Jesus heard? The death of John the Baptist. It capped off a horrendous day for Jesus, a horrendous time that the disciples had gone through. There was so much stress right there, and they had gone through so much. And so when they heard about John the Baptist, it's almost like it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. It's like, we've had enough. There's just too much going on. We need to get away from all the needs of the crowd. Now, when Jesus heard this, the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place by himself. You ever feel like you just need to get away by yourself? That's what Jesus was doing. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. And when he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them and cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." It's a good place to pause, isn't it? So often in our lives, we get demands on us, things we're supposed to do, things we feel compelled to do. There's all these needs in the world, and we're like, oh, I guess I've got to do it. Jesus says to us, you give them something to eat. Don't dismiss them. They replied, "We have nothing here. There's not enough to go around. Look, Jesus, there's only 5 loaves and 2 fish." And Jesus said, "Bring them to me." And then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the green grass. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves. You recognize that language? It's the same kind of language and the same imagery that we use at the communion table soon. He took the bread, took the fish, blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples. And the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate and were filled. And they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Invite our youth that went on the mission trip. We had one that was missing today, Claire, who's not with us today because she picked up an extra shift at work, and so she wasn't able to be with us. But come front and center, and these are the four plus Claire, the 5 kids that were on our youth mission trip to the Naomi house, and we've got a presentation that we want to present to you. And there'll be times as you're hearing them talk about their experience on the mission trip that they're going to ask you if you have any questions for them, and they're fully prepared to answer some of those questions, okay? And they're quite reflective, actually. It's very introspective. So lead us off, will you, Jessica?
So thank you for being here and listening to our presentation. I'm so excited for them to tell you about the mission trip. We're going to start with introductions, and we'll start with James.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Catherine.
Hi, I'm Olivia.
Hi, I'm Elijah.
We'll have you start with Sunday.
Okay, so the place we went called Naomi House. It is a group home for children who have been through traumatic experiences and probably have been removed from their home and taken here. About 80% of them go back to their homes, and about 20% stay for the rest of their adolescent lives. So we started on Sunday. We got to church about 4:15. We ended up leaving on the bus, I'd say, about 5 a.m. And we drove for a while. And when we were in Albuquerque, New Mexico, we were stopped at a gas station, and I saw that we were close to a famous restaurant from the show Breaking Bad. So I thought, I mentioned it to Jessica and Pastor Dave. They thought it was a good idea to go there for lunch. So that.
I just need to clarify that really quick. Do your parents allow you to watch Breaking Bad? And you all answered, yes. Yes, they do. Would they be okay with you going to this restaurant? Breaking Bad is kind of more R-rated kind of show. It's like, oh, yes, they would be fine.
So, yeah, I'd say it was actually a really cool experience, that we got to go through. So after we had lunch, we kept driving for a while. Once we got to the place, we kind of just unpacked, and we got a tour, and we talked to the leaders of the group, and they kind of just told us what their whole thing is about and what they do for the children. And we ended up making pizza for dinner for all the children and us and all the staff. So that was cool. And after that, we played volleyball with the kids. Kind of got to connect with them. So that was a good experience. And now on for Monday is Olivia.
Okay, so for Monday, we got up and we weeded for the first time. We found out that there is really big weeds, and then there's also little weeds. So, also some of them had like thorns, so we all got poked. Anyways, after we weeded, we went to the pool, and that was really nice. And then we had dinner, and during dinner, James played his cello. And after dinner, we played volleyball. There were 2 teams, Grace versus Naomi. We lost by like a lot. Yeah.
So on Tuesday, we decided that we would get up really early so we wouldn't have to be out in the hot sun for as long. And we finished weeding about an hour before we did the day before, and we just had a bit of time to sit and relax before lunch started. And then after lunch, we taught the kids some arts and crafts. We taught them how to make some friendship bracelets. And after that, a Navajo woman selling jewelry came and told us about her jewelry and what her life was like as a young girl growing up on the reservation and how different it is then compared to it now. And for dinner, Pastor Dave made dinner. He made pineapple chicken and rice, which was really good. And after that, after dinner, we got to braid Elijah's hair. Everyone liked that.
So on Wednesday, we went to the pool again, and we finished reading early. We also watched the movie Holes, because throughout the week, everybody's making jokes about how it seems like holes because we're walking around in the hot sun all day, carrying heavy equipment, hitting things. And then, something I'm forgetting. Okay, yep.
So on Thursday, since we didn't have to do any more weeding, we cleaned the playroom, the toys, wiped them down to clean them up, and after that, we went through their books, getting rid of the ones that were old and broken, and donating the ones that they no longer needed. While we were doing all of that, James made banana bread for us, and it was really good. After that, we played kickball with the Naomi kids, and they beat us a lot. We also got to play monkey on the ground with them, and that's when a lot of them started warming up to us a lot more and talking to us, so that was really nice. Afterwards, we had dinner Pastor Dave made for us. He made chili, and after that, we were invited to a Native American cultural dance that we were allowed to participate in, and afterwards, we went to an Airbnb, which was very surprising, because it was originally advertised as a 7-bedroom Airbnb, but it only had about 3. So the boys had to share a large king bed, and the girls and I shared the bunk beds, while Pastor Dave slept on the floor and Miss Jessica slept on the couch.
Friday, this was the day we were driving home. So we said we would get up at 5:30, but we didn't, and we got up at 6:45. And then we left at 7:15. And so at night, the shower was like cold and wouldn't warm up, but in the morning it was warm, so. And then on the way home, we ate at this place. It was called Tony's Restaurant, and we actually got to meet Tony. And we made this slideshow. And, well, on the drive home, I made bracelets.
Awesome. So I have a couple of questions for the kids before we open it up to you all to ask questions. So our first thing is the favorite thing that we did.
So the favorite thing that I like doing was hanging out with kids because they're actually all really funny.
My favorite thing was being invited to the dance, because we got to see a really important cultural aspect to their lives, and the kids started talking to us a lot more.
My favorite part was the pool, because we got to play with the kids like in a pool,
I'd say my favorite was just, talking to them, and also I'd say going to the restaurant.
Awesome. One of my favorite things we did is we did devotions every night. And one night we had a no phone day. And so all the kids were talking. And they kept talking. And I didn't have a chance to be like, let's do devotions. So it took a while. But that was a really exciting moment for us, I think. The next question is, what did you pray for after the trip?
So I prayed that the kids would go on to have successful lives and lead good home lives.
I prayed that the kids that are able to go back to their homes are able to go back to a stable and comfortable life where they don't have to worry about so many bad things that happen to them.
I prayed for the kids' safety so that they like Kat said, that they go back to a safe home or they stay in a safe space.
I'd say just have, a normal childhood and have friends and family that care for them, I'd say.
One thing I prayed for is the family. So these kids came from families that weren't in a great situation. So I'm praying for their parents, for their siblings, for everyone involved so that they can get better, hopefully, and get their kids back if that is the best plan for them. The next thing is one thing we learned.
One thing that I learned was that even though the kids all had a bad home life, they were still really happy, and they have lots of friends at the Naomi house.
I learned to not be super presumptuous with what we would be doing, and that it was a lot different, but in a good way from what I initially expected.
I learned these kids, they're so happy. They're so happy, like all the time. They always have a smile on their face, you know.
I'd say like what Catherine's was saying was, sorry, I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say. Oh, I just say that, you know, they all have like a different life than us, you know, like we're obviously in a very different place and situation, but you know, they always make the best of it, and they all do it together, so.
The next question is, how did you feel serving?
I felt really happy helping them out because the reason why we were doing the weeding was because they had an inspection coming up, and I just think it felt good to know that we were helping them get the attention that the Naomi house needs because we made the property look better.
A little bit like what James said, it was really nice to be able to help the house so that they could pass our inspection and they can continue running and helping kids that need help.
It was fun. I mean, it was good. Also, I don't know, when we like pulled out the weeds and stuff, we pulled out the dangerous weeds that like they could hurt themselves on. So now they hopefully won't hurt themselves on those weeds.
I think that it was cool, you know, making the place they live at just like, you know, look better and just be more presentable for people who are, you know, donating and helping out.
It was great watching these kids get to know each other and serve, and each day serving on a different level, which was awesome. One of our last questions is dinner. Pastor Dave made an awesome dinner every night. There's pineapple chicken, chili, soup. It was really, really good. So I want the kids to tell everyone their favorite dinner Pastor Dave made.
Okay, my favorite dinner was the chili that he made.
I'd have to say the same thing. He made really good chili, and we got to add different things to it to make it to our liking.
My favorite thing was the pineapple chicken.
I'd probably say the soup.
So one of each. I'd say mine was the pineapple chicken. So the Naomi house gets donations from a food bank. So we saw all their donations and then figured out what can we make with their food, what can we go buy. We can buy a couple of little things, bring it back, and then Pastor Dave can make a really creative, really good dinner. So that was really good. And then I have James, your last.
Yeah, thank you for all the donations because it's for people like this making the donations that we get to go on mission trips such as this one that we went on. One thing that I forgot to mention was that the train, you saw a picture of a train earlier. There was a train that ran by the Naomi house, and our bunkhouses would shake around every 30 minutes because of the trains that were passing by. Yeah, you laugh like it's a joke, but no, it is not fun. It woke me up like twice, which is 2 more times than it needs to.
Now we're going to open up for you all to ask some questions. So what questions do you have for us? Yes.
Who founded the Naomi house and why is it named the Naomi house?
Who founded the Naomi house and who named the Naomi house?
I can't quite remember her name, but it was this woman, I think in the mid-90s, who originally started the house. She had married a native man there, and they would foster kids, and they eventually ended up, they split up eventually, but the reservation let her continue fostering kids, and she was eventually able to buy the Naomi house and continue taking in more and more kids to help them.
So once she split up with this man, she was actually not sure if they were going to let her have kids anymore. Like get the kids and help them out, because she was not Native American. So it was really cool that the house got to stay open and that they still trusted her.
And then Naomi stands for Native American Outreach Ministry, Inc., Incorporated. Yes, on our shirts. What other questions do y'all have? Yes. How big is the Naomi house, and how many kids are there?
So there was around, I think it was 12 at the time we visited, but they say that they can have up to 30, but they would like a little bit of a slow season right now. Sorry. And actually we got 3 kids during the week, so we had 3 little boys that that the staff helped adjust into their new lives.
What other questions? I saw a hand over here. Yeah, Kerwin.
They take from anywhere from like a couple years old just to like newborns, and they stay past 18 because they have this program where they help the kids at the age of 18. They'll help the kids get into college or get a job, so they're not immediately kicked out after 18. They're still given more help.
What other questions do we have? One thing I did want to point out is our theme is fixing good. So Breaking Bad was the show. We decided our theme is fixing good. At Grace, we do a couple of traditions. So if you go in the youth room, there is shirts, all the mission trip shirts on the wall, and there's also a photo. So you will see, we'll put up our new photo so you can see all the photos from the past mission trips. We're excited to start this tradition again. Every year we're going to go on a mission trip. So. We want to give a huge thank you to everyone who donated. We're also going to say thank you to the choir. They're going to play a song that we listened to on the mission trip, and the band in the previous service played lots of songs we heard on the trip as well.
Also, one of our traditions is we have what's called a Milestones and Blessings program. So even like kids that go through the process of getting their new Bibles in around 3rd grade, there's a class that's a milestone. Another milestone is when they do communion for the very first time is a milestone. But a milestone that we're observing today is when they go on a mission trip. And so you all receive your mission trip milestone and blessing stone that you have. And you can add these to the other stones. And this is kind of the basis of the whole youth ministry and the whole family ministry and faith formation here at Grace Presbyterian. Of course, there's lots of other churches out there that we support and encourage. We love it that people go to Red Rocks and big churches that have, thousands of kids in it and everything. But we really believe strongly also that when these kids go through the confirmation process, when they go through all these milestones and blessings and all these experiences, and when they're connected up with their prayer partners and when they're involved in lifelong, really redemptive relationships, there's all these kinds of additional experiences, being in the choir, being in the band, being in all these different experiences, that all of that, I'm about to fall, all of those things combine to our whole youth ministry. So it's not just getting, lots of kids to get here on a Sunday afternoon for youth group. It's about the whole experience. And so observing all the milestones and blessings along the way is what our youth ministry here at Grace is all about. So congratulations to you all. Thank you for your commitment and of doing this, and thank you for serving on our behalf.
That will conclude the end of our presentation. Feel free to stop by and ask us questions at the end. And there's cake as well. There's some cake leftovers. Yeah.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you. When they got back from the mission trip, Jessica said to me, "Hey, we listened to a couple songs. You think you could do one on Sunday morning when we give our presentation?" I said, "Sure." And I listened to them and I went through and I got to this one. I don't know if you know it, but I went, "Old Church Choir, really?" So feel free, once you hear it, you'll know why I chose this one. Feel free to substitute the word traditional church choir, gospel, hometown. We're not quite on our walkers yet and everything, but we're going to fill the bill today. So we chose this one because it's about joy. It's about rejoicing. We have youth that go out and help other people in need, and that is something worth rejoicing all about. This song was written by Zach Williams in 2016. He started his career as a rock and roll groupie and traveled with a lot of different bands, and then he found God himself and found Jesus and switched over to writing Christian pop music and country music and rock music. He's now performing with a Baptist church, thus the title and the song. It'll all come together in just a second. Our soloists are Leslie and Bonnie. We are thrilled to have Chad and Dave and Linda playing for us today. And if you don't know it, this week, Linda's going to have her surgery on Wednesday, and Phyllis will be filling in. So this is kind of her swan song for a few weeks, right, until we get her all bionic and fixed up and everything. And Pastor Dave here, you wouldn't even know. My goodness, man, this is full knee replacement. It's wonderful. I would like to make sure that we dedicate this song to Pastor Dave and Jessica. That is no easy undertaking. You want to go on a van or a bus with a bunch of teenagers for a few days in Arizona? Let alone cooking. Does your wife know you did all that cooking? Okay. But doing what they did and making it look easy and lift up these kids is just wonderful. So we hope you enjoy Old Church Choir.
There's revival, and it's spreading like a wildfire in my heart. Sunday morning, hallelujah, and it's lasting all week long. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? It's the rhythm of a gospel song. What you choose it, you can't lose it. 'Cause there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. No, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. When the valleys that I wander turn to mountains that I can't climb, you are with me, you never leave me. 'Cause there ain't nothing gonna steal
We've come to the time in our service, the time of the month where we celebrate the sacrament of communion together. I remember when I was just a little kid, I would love communion because it was snack time at church. But then as I grew older, it became more sacred, and I understood the meaning behind the sacrament of communion. So maybe you're here, maybe you're a young one, or maybe you're even older, and it's just snack time to you. You don't really quite understand it. But that's what's beautiful about this invitation to the table. Whether you're full of faith, whether you're full of doubt, whether you're absolutely certain, or whether you're quite uncertain, you are invited to this table. No matter who you are, what you've done, who you love, your background, what anyone has ever told you about yourself, God invites you to this table. God welcomes you and embraces you with open arms, saying, "You are my beloved, you are forgiven, and you are unconditionally invited to this table." In the spirit of this invitation, let us join our voices together, singing, "Come to the table of grace." Join me in the spirit of prayer as we prepare our hearts for communion. Gracious and loving God, we come to you thankful. We give thanks for all that you have blessed us with. And we're not talking about the possessions or the material things that we may own, but the blessing of love, the blessing of grace, the blessing of radical forgiveness that you have shown us in our lives, and that you ask us to continue exemplifying in our walk, just as Jesus exemplified such grace, such forgiveness and mercy and justice. We thank you that we are invited to partner with you, to be a part of this greater mission in the world. We come to this table eager to know all that you have in store for us, all the abundance that you have awaiting us, God. We come to this table with grateful attitudes and grateful hearts, knowing that wherever we are in this life, whatever type of season we are in, whether we're full of doubt, full of faith, angry, sad, or full of joy, that we know that you are unconditionally with us and that you journey with us every step of the way. We give thanks for the life of Jesus Christ as he taught us so many things about how to love deeply, how to forgive unconditionally, and how to show radical grace in this world, even through the most difficult times. So we bind up this prayer and all the unspoken prayers of our hearts together as we say, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen."
It was when Jesus was with the disciples in the upper room. That's similar to when they fed the 5,000 people together. He took the bread. And he said similar words to when they fed those 5,000. He took the bread and he blessed and broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat, for this is my body which is broken for you." In the same way, he took the cup, saying, "This is the new cup of salvation, sealed in my blood for the forgiveness of sin. As often as you eat this bread, as often as you drink from this cup, you proclaim my death until I come again." We heard the story this morning of Jesus and the disciples feeding the 5,000. And I believe, and you all know me well, I believe that a miracle took place that day. A miracle that Jesus took the small loaves and the small bread and multiplied it so that everyone can eat. But I believe there's also another miracle that happened that day. There's a story that's told, and it's not necessarily true, but it's a story that's told about there's a little boy there. And the scripture mentions women and children, of course, were fed. And the word got out that everybody was hungry. It was getting late in the day, and word got out that people were hungry and that they were trying to decide whether we should go to 7-Eleven down the hill and go buy our own food or whether we should come back or whether we should share or what we should do. But the word got out that people were needy. And the story is this, that one little boy said, "Well, my mom actually packed my lunch for me today, and I actually have some. Would this help?" Everybody else saw that example of service. And it turns out everybody else also had a little something with them, and they said, "Well, maybe this would help." And then other people brought out their packs and their sacks and everything, others. And so there's another miracle that also took place. People actually who were there in the presence of Jesus said, "We want to help too." So when Jesus said, "You feed them," and at first they were like, "No, make them go away," Jesus actually encouraged them to be giving and to feed them. And they did. In a moment here, I'm going to invite you to come down the center aisle and to be fed by the bread and the cup. When you come down the center aisle, take a piece of bread and go ahead and eat it there, and then take the cup, which you'll get next, and take that back to the seat with you, and we'll partake together. If you're feeling a little unsteady on your feet or you don't want to deal with the crowds, just stay right where you are, and we will come to you. Let us know after everyone's been served that you'd like for us to come bring it to you. That's not a problem. The choir will stay right where they are. People will serve you as well. But come to this table of grace. Come to this table of love. we are so aware of the need that is in the world. There are so many who are lonely. There are so many who are sick. There are so many who are dealing with difficulties in their families. There's so much poverty. There's so many things we could list out, and we could throw our hands up and say, oh God, it's just helpless. How could we possibly help out? What could we possibly do? In the midst of that awareness of need, Jesus looks to us in the same way that he looked to the disciples and said, you feed them. And at first, when Jesus says, you feed them, it's like, oh, you're the Lord God Almighty. You're the one with all the resources. You're the one that's supposed to feed them, not us. But still, gently, lovingly, he says, you feed them. I think Jesus knows the secret here. The secret is this Jesus who feeds us. So that when we go out there to face the needs in the world, we are full. There's a reservoir within us that can't help but want to help those who are needy. So we hear God's call to feed them. And we also know that God feeds us. The bread of God broken for us, the cup of salvation. Amen. We're passing around the little baskets that we can put the cups in after as we conclude our service this day. And as we conclude, we can't help but want to participate in also meeting some of the needs of the community around us, meeting the needs of the world that we talked about. And so we have our ushers come forward now for our offering. And we who take a small part of the small blessings that God has given us, we give it to the world.
She's done this many times. That's the song we played for everybody this morning. That was the church doing that.
What a lovely way to end the service. I'm so thankful and so grateful for all of you. Linda, what a swan song to leave us with as you have your surgery this coming week, and we'll remember that particular song. You started out, you keep pulling instruments out of that organ. You started out with a bagpipe. I didn't know you had a bagpipe too. And then it moved to like kind of those old-timey 1920s organs, you hear at Wrigley Field or something like that. And then all of a sudden you hear the string section coming from Ireland. And then now all of a sudden you're in heaven and you're hearing this kind of celestial choir with horns. And then it ends back up with the bagpipe. And so we're so grateful for the music that you bring here. So grateful for the choir. It's not the old-time choir. It's more the joyful choir that we heard this morning. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful anthem. And not only did you sing about joy, you exuded joy. I mean, some of you were practically dancing. And old church choirs don't dance. But seriously, thank you for that. And we're so grateful for the youth. Come on forward. Come on forward, because you're going to walk down the aisle with me after I pronounce the benediction. We are so grateful for the example of leadership, the example of service, the example of commitment that you have given to those Native American youth that didn't necessarily like you on that Sunday night when we first arrived. They didn't even want to talk with you. But by Thursday, they hugged you and almost with tears were saying goodbye to you. What a difference you all have made. We have so much to be thankful for and grateful for. Let's stand and express our gratitude as we participate in the doxology. Friends, go from this place inspired by our youth. Go from this place remembering that life is short. There is precious little time to gladden the hearts of those with whom we walk. And so let's all be quick to love and slow to judge. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you as you go now into God's world of care and love. Amen.